Fermentation for plants, it's really the easy kitchen method that most gardeners just ignore. Most gardeners, overfeed their plants and then blame the soil when growth, stalls. They dump compost teas, bottled nutrients and so-called organic boosters into beds that are already overloaded with raw material, and the plants, honestly, respond with weak growth, yellowing, or sometimes disease pressure. The real problem isn't actually a lack of nutrients. It's that the nutrients aren't available yet. Fermentation solves that, and most gardeners ignore it because they think it's complicated or risky. Fermentation is not some exotic farming trick. It's controlled decay, done right, and it turns kitchen scraps into immediately usable plant nutrition instead of slow, unpredictable breakdown. When plant material ferments, complex sugars, proteins, and minerals are broken into simpler forms that roots and soil microbes can use almost immediately. This matters because, plants don't eat compost. They absorb ions and small molecules. Fermentation does that conversion before the material ever hits your soil. When you apply it, the soil biology doesn't have to work overtime, and the plants respond faster. In my beds, fermented inputs show visible response within days, not weeks. Leaf color improves, growth evens out, and stress tolerance increases, especially during heat swings. The kitchen fermentation method I actually rely on isn't about fancy inoculants or lab cultures. The simplest method uses food scraps, sugar, water, and time. I use fruit peels, overripe produce, spent greens, and even herb trimmings. Soft plant material ferments best. Woody scraps don't belong here. For every liter of water, I add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Plain white sugar works. Molasses works even better, but sugar is fine and consistent. How to tell when fermentation is working instead of rotting? This is where gardeners mess up. Fermentation smells sour, slightly sweet, and sharp. Rot smells foul and putrid. If it smells like sewage, something went wrong. I usually let fermentation run for 7 days in summer and, 10 to 14 days in cooler weather. Longer isn't better. Over-fermentation breaks compounds down too far and reduces effectiveness. Dilution is where most people burn their plants. Fermented liquid is not meant to be used straight, it's concentrated. For soil application, I dilute 1 part fermented liquid to 20 parts water. In sensitive beds, or with young plants, I go 1 to 30. Fermented inputs increase microbial activity, which consumes oxygen. If you don't compensate with aeration, you'll stress roots. Use carefully. Fermented inputs improve root health and nutrient uptake, even in sterile systems. Now, there's some common advice about fermentation that I completely disagree with. People say you need airlocks, specific cultures, or expensive starters. You don't. Others say fermentation replaces compost entirely. It doesn't. Fermentation is a fast input. Compost is long-term soil structure. Some claim fermented plant juices are harmless at any strength. They aren't. Acidity matters. Dilution matters. More is not better. When I choose fermentation over compost tea, here's what I consider. If I need a fast response, I ferment. If I'm rebuilding soil long-term, I compost. Compost tea is unpredictable unless you control temperature, oxygen, and inputs carefully. Fermentation is more forgiving and repeatable at small scale. The quiet benefit most gardeners miss is that fermentation reduces waste. Kitchen scraps become plant nutrition instead of landfill. More importantly, it trains you to observe biology instead of following recipes blindly. Once you understand fermentation, you stop chasing products and start managing processes. Once you understand fermentation, you stop chasing products and start managing processes. That shift alone makes you a better grower. Why this method stays in my rotation year after year. I've tested trends and honestly dropped most of them. Fermentation stayed because it works across climates, systems, and scales. It respects the biology instead of overpowering it. If you grow food and care about consistent results, this is a tool worth mastering. If this kind of grounded, tested knowledge helps you grow better food, subscribe to Gentle Herb Gardening. Share this with someone drowning their soil in inputs and wondering why nothing improves. Strong gardens come from understanding processes, not buying fixes.